Hi, and welcome to Candidates Forum here on NHTV. I'm Walter Mann. Welcome again to another episode of this special series this fall, focusing on the North Haven municipal election on November 4th. Just to remind folks, in late September, I did reach out to both the Democratic Town Committee and Republican Town Committee chairman, as well as independent candidates, to let them know that NHTV does offer this opportunity at no charge to come on and talk about their candidacy for the office they're seeking. And so far, we did hear back from Pat Brown and Peter Criscolo, both running for the Fire Commission. We've done a show each with them. And now we, of course, tonight have Rod Williams, who's running for the Planning and Zoning Commission. We have not heard back from any other candidates from any of the parties except for the two shows we've done, and tonight Rod. So Rod, first of all, welcome. Great to have you here.
Oh, thank you. I'm happy to be here, and I appreciate your taking the time to talk to me here. Thank you.
So for those who don't know, if you could tell the viewers what the role of the Planning and Zoning Commission is, as well as how long you've served on the P&Z. You've been on quite a while.
I have. I've been on for about 11 years. And Planning and Zoning, it's a commission that every town has, sometimes in different forms. And essentially there are two roles. One is to consider applications for land use and specific projects that people have. A lot of times what comes before the commission is commercial or industrial uses, residential you see sometimes, particularly in subdivisions. And what the commission does in that, in those applications is consider what is being proposed, whether it's an appropriate use of land. If it's a site plan application, that is more one where it's just confirming that applications conform to the requirements of our zoning ordinance. Mm-hmm. There's a second role too, which is more of it's more of a legislative capacity really, and that has to do with changing the zoning ordinance if that comes if that is proposed or if it's necessary. So the zoning ordinance is what we follow, but there's also the ability to change that when the circumstances or the time require it.
Let me ask you, I should have asked you this first. Tell us a little bit about your background, career in life, and how long you've been in North Haven as well.
Thanks. So I grew up in Southern California in Orange County, which is between Los Angeles and San Diego in the south. Yep. And eventually came back here. I went to school in the Northeast. I went to school at Vassar College, which is in Poughkeepsie. It's not too far away from here. Sort of got a taste for this region. I actually really liked it. I ended up coming back here sometime later. I moved. So after that, I went to law school back in California, and then went up to Alaska for a year and ended up moving to New Haven for a year in 2007, and then moved to North Haven in 2008. I've been here ever since. Yep. I work for the city of New Haven, and I have ever since I've been here. I find that kind of work fascinating. I really enjoy, sort of ground level government and what you do there, and helping people with problems they have in everyday life. Yeah. And I also defend the city in lawsuits, but I also get to do the planning and zoning work. And that's part of what's kept me there, because I've been doing that since 2014. And I've been on the Planning and Zoning Commission for 11 years.
Now, are you an attorney as well?
I'm an attorney as well,
okay.
Yes.
I got to ask you, for those people who have not seen a Planning and Zoning Commission, some people love to watch them. Some people like to watch them to fall asleep because it's kind of like C-SPAN. It's relaxing. But for being a member on the commission, I don't know if people, unless they've watched it, really understand the deep down nitty-gritty you guys have to get into for a site plan application. You know, the amount of parking spaces that are needed versus is there enough space for that, and all these little details. How do you handle all that stuff? I know it helps, obviously, to have the land use administrator and the town engineer as well involved, but that must be a lot to really kind of focus on and analyze in making decisions.
It is, and it can be, and because and a lot of times you don't have everything you think you might want to have. You'll get a drawing set, for instance, and you have to look at it and look and think, okay, what's going on here? What does this all mean, and what are they intending on doing? And I think if I hadn't done this in New Haven for for a number of years before, I actually started in 2019, so I had about 5 years worth of background in that. It would be it's tough to know how to make heads or tails of it, because you're looking at an overall project, but you also have to make sure that it complies in every way that is necessary. For instance, drainage. Are you going to create a use that spills onto a neighbor's property, or that carries pollutants away, or is it handled? Are the storm drains adequate to capture whatever is produced by this? If you're paving a large area that's not. You have to look at lighting and whether the light spills out onto neighboring property. And then you sort of also have to look overall, sort of from a higher up perspective, what effect is this going to have on the neighborhood and in the others? So there's a ton that goes into it. And really, I think it just takes a lot of time. You have to look, you have to think, you have to, often it's best to go out to the site and look at it.
I'm just going to ask it, do they give you guys an opportunity prior to a meeting, the week before or whatever, to go take a look at a site and get a better feel? Because I really would think that would help you much more than just, okay, our next application is, right?
It makes such a huge difference, because when you get out somewhere, then you really realize, okay, what's going on here? There's a neighbor, that's how far they are. There are trees here, there's a hydrant here, all these different things you don't necessarily get from either the application or even sort of looking at an aerial view. You need the flavor of it. And the law says that every property is unique, and so it's important to get out and see every feature that's there.
Yeah, well, you got to do your homework. What are some of the achievements or issues that you have worked on in your 11 years on planning and zoning? You must have seen a lot of different things come through.
Absolutely. So one of the things that I've been doing most recently is sitting on the Regional Planning Commission for the SCROG is the acronym, the Southern Connecticut Regional Office of Governments, I think.
Council of Governments.
Council of Governments, thank you. And it's comprised of a representative from all the towns in our district, so Central Connecticut, and we look at applications, zone changes, and other essentially projects, and how they might affect other municipalities. And I find that fascinating, because we all look at we focus on North Haven when we're acting as a commission, but we abut other towns, and other towns abut our town, and so it's important to consider you don't want to have, for instance, like factories right next to what might be a residential neighborhood somewhere else. A lot of the neighborhoods are already established, but every use might have effects that could could be seen as problematic to other towns, and so it's a way to have a wider perspective. And I bring that back to the commission when there are matters that are of interest and things that we need to think about. That's one thing. Another thing that I found really informative, back in 2022, I was on a committee, the North Haven Affordable Housing Plan Advisory Committee, and what that was it was a group from North Haven that spoke with a bunch of constituents, developers.
Was that called NOAA? Was that the group that was called NOAA, or maybe that was prior to?
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't. I ended up being the vice chair on that, and we spoke with tenants too. We spoke to construction people to really sort of dig deep into to try and figure out how the town might handle this, because it's an issue the state is slowly imposing requirements to face. What's
we saw the governor veto what was going to become law, which a lot of municipalities were not happy with, and it'll be interesting to see where that goes. But,
exactly, and so this exercise was good, because one, we learned a lot about it. It's a complicated issue. It's so complicated, and there's no simple solution. And I think there's going to be. We'll have to, as a town, think about this at some point, because otherwise it will be forced upon us. And I think a lot of the mandates that come out from the state that are take it or leave it are not necessarily what the town is going to consider the best. And so the better way to do it is to have a discussion. What's the best way to handle this? Do we do it with incentives? Where do we focus on putting affordable housing? And so anyway, that was informative, and I think it's something we'll have to deal with, and it'll be a good thing to tackle. I think the important thing is engagement of people. We really want to hear what people think, and this was one time when we got to. And I think if there's more public discussion about it, we'll
Yeah.
be better off.
I think even as you mentioned, it's really critical to where, like for example, if you look at Summerdale on Quinnipiac Avenue, or I don't know what the name of it is, but the one on Clintonville Road, right where Old Clintonville is there, those have both been built, and they seem to be problem free. I think they fit in well, and so I think, as you said, it really matters. Important, where it's put. And you mentioned affordable housing. What are some of the other issues and concerns facing North Haven from you being a member of P&Z now for 11 years? What have you seen, and what are you seeing, and what do you foresee?
Well, so affordable housing is always going to be there. I think elderly housing is another issue because we have an aging population, and it's important to figure out how best to keep people in town and not have them either priced out of where they live, or allow them to age in place, or a place to have places where they can go and still have access to amenities. Stores, maybe on public transportation routes. We have a document that informs the town. It's called the Comprehensive Plan of Development, and it's aspirational. It talks about where we are now.
And that's state
zoning.
required is it 5 years, 10 years?
Yeah, every 10 years, right? Ours is coming up actually in 2027. We'll be up
we were
for
late last time, if I'm recalling things right. But so the state mandates that.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
And so it's always interesting to take that 10-year look, because where we're going in society can change and affect how we want to use the land in our town and where we want things to be. And right now, for elderly housing, for instance, there are those requirements: accessibility to stores and amenities, and to public transportation. And so you have to think about where's the appropriate place to do this in town.
Right. Well, now you mentioned 11 years you've been on the commission. So my understanding, with what I've seen and minimally been involved in, I serve on the Economic Development Commission. So with regards to the plan of conservation and development, I believe the town obviously hires a firm to kind of steer that, right? And then, so you've obviously been on the commission during that process. If you could give a quick snapshot as to what the town has to do and what the end result should be of that. Is it a plan for the future, what we want to see in this town, or?
Okay, so I was not involved actually, because I started in 2019. Let me think about this, and it was 2017 when it went. But so
you just missed it.
You just missed it, and and so I'd be looking forward to doing it the next time. So yes, a consultant starts, and then I think the commission gets to play with it and hopefully solicit feedback from people to are we still on track?
Yep.
Are the goals that we set and the priorities still appropriate? And if not, what kind of changes can we make?
Okay. So let's talk about you specifically and the other candidates on the commission. Obviously, there are regular members, there are alternates on the commission. If you could, tell us what you think makes you stand out from other candidates running for P&Z this November in North Haven.
Okay, this might be a little bit of a long answer, but it's sort of
fine.
a story I want to tell.
You've got
Okay,
time,
so when I was young, I remember growing up in Orange County. My grandfather used to always talk with this sort of bravado and officiousness about, I'm on Orange County Planning Commissioner.
Yeah.
And as a kid, I thought, well, God, it sounds really important. The way he carries himself.
Yeah.
I always wondered, didn't really understand what it meant, but I was always curious because I heard him, and this is something he seemed very proud of. And so over time, I learned and sort of kept my eyes out, what is this? And it probably wasn't until high school when I started to have a better understanding and came back to him at one point because Orange County was vast wilderness and orange groves. I remember you drive up the freeway and you could smell the orange blossoms at a certain time of year, but mostly it was the wilderness, these tracts of empty land where mountain lions used to run and coyotes and wilderness, and it all slowly was developed. Stucco
in Orange
developments,
County.
yes, in Orange County. This is California, from one place to another, Los Angeles all the way through Orange County. And I went to him probably in my more rebellious teenage years and said, how could you let this happen? Because the people that lived there saw one thing change to another and generally weren't happy with it. And I asked him, how you were the planning and zoning commissioner, and he said, well, it's not as simple as you think. You don't have absolute power when you're in this role. What it is about is for the applications and progress that you can't stop. You need to make sure that it goes forward in the most responsible way, and ensure that the town and the region, the county, does get something out of this, and so it's not something that is problematic 10, 20 years down the road. And specifically, he said, I'm talking about the wide sidewalks you see. I'm talking about the big barriers of open space between developments and roads, trees, preservation of trees, other things. And I kind of half bought it. I thought, all right, well, that's that. I still kind of wish you could have done more, but also not being satisfied, I think, kept me interested in it. And so when I went to law school, I took the land use courses and kept my eye on it. And that, I think, is what compelled me ultimately when I was in New Haven and the opportunity arose to start doing the planning and zoning work. So that I've been doing for 11 years. I've been on the committee the commission in North Haven since 2019, which I think is less than 11. It's 8-ish years. Trying to do my math, but anyway.
My mistake.
No, well, I might have led you, but just so we're clear. But also,
the ability to help kind of take public input and make that count.
Exactly.
I think, from what you're describing is kind of what he looked at it as, right?
Yeah, thank you, exactly. And that's what, and that's something that is gratifying here, because we can do that. And it's, obviously you can't, if something meets the criteria, and or also, even if you don't personally like it, if it's a project that is a good thing overall, then it's been determined to be acceptable, because that's what the ordinance allows, what our zoning ordinance allows. I think you always just have to keep an eye on what's this going to look like in 10 years and 20 years. And sidewalks is one of the big sort of considerations we have, because every commercial application has the option of requesting a sidewalk waiver. Obviously, not everyone requests them, but we're always asking the question, do we continue the sidewalks? And there's an argument against it. Well, there are none on this street, but that's how it starts. You know?
Of course. Got to start somewhere,
Got to start somewhere. And these are the types of things where you look, and so I think I kind of understand what my grandfather said,
all these years later,
All these years later. But anyway, it's something that I've always been interested in, will stay interested in.
Being involved in New Haven, I got to ask you a question. You see what goes on in New Haven in terms of maybe how some of their commissions function, and obviously your experience here since 2019 on North Haven Planning and Zoning. Is it hard for a commission member, and it's just from your personal observation, if North Haven for years, for example, was not known, we had maybe 2 or 3 condo projects, right? We had apartments, Avalon Haven on Old Broadway. We had some condos on Hartford Turnpike, and some condos up at where the old drive-in theater used to be, where Mercedes-Benz is, right? So that's about it, mostly. But now we see the Arches come in here on Washington Avenue, and then another development across the street, and now there's more coming in on Clintonville Road. How is it difficult as a commission member, I would think, to be faced with something like that really is in some ways kind of changing the face of the town in certain areas? How hard is that to deal with? Because it must be a lot to balance. Forget just about the nitty-gritty of the project and all the little, this is how many parking spaces you need and whatnot, but that must be difficult to handle.
It is. And change is difficult, and I think everyone recognizes that. You see a new project and something else come in, it could be the smallest thing. And people have a sort of a knee-jerk reaction often and think like, oh, this is different. And so it's difficult. And it's, that's progress happens, and something that's brand new one day will all of a sudden become a fixture later on.
True.
And it's, I think it's important to sort of see it through that lens and say, okay, this is different. And I might have the same sort of thing when I look, I'm like, that doesn't seem right there. But you have to kind of sit with it for a little bit and say, okay, this actually, here's why it might be appropriate here, here's why it might not, by the nature of it, by what's envisioned in that area, and what it might bring.
It's a good way to look at it. The ballot. I was looking at a ballot earlier, and this year I wasn't even aware that there were two-sided ballots. I thought they always kind of shrunk to fit on one page, but tell us about the two-sided ballot, how people can find you or vote for you rather on that ballot, because it's different this year, obviously, because you're the way you're running.
Right. So I'm running this year as a write-in candidate, which means my name will not appear on the ballot. The ballot is a two-sided ballot, and so the Planning and Zoning Commission appears on the back of the ballot. When you turn it over, row 12 is for regular or full commissioners, and 13 is for alternates. There are 4 boxes. There are 2 candidates at the top. There's a third box at the bottom. Is a box that says write-in vote. You have to fill the bubble essentially, and then write my name underneath. Rod Williams. It could be Roderick Williams. So it's a little extra work.
If they wrote Rod W, I think people would understand what that is, right?
I
if
believe
they forgot your, I don't know. I'm just
right.
saying.
I think so. Rod W would that should do the job.
Or Williams or whatever. Yeah.
Right.
That's interesting.
Right.
Okay, so people need to know that there is a box that says write in. You bubble out the circle, and then you write in the name.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Let's talk a little bit about the North Haven Democratic Town Committee. Obviously, you said you've been on P&Z since 2019. How come you were not re-endorsed or endorsed again by the DTC, if you don't mind?
Yeah. I think with endorsements, it can be it often can be more of something driven by friendships and personality than by policies, politics, legislation, or what's in the best interest of the town.
Yeah.
And so I would like to say I have been endorsed before. I was endorsed for several rounds, and I have worked well with the people on the commission, and the way we consider and decide applications is really, you don't feel a partisan element. We're all sort of thinking about what's best for the town, and we've sort of led ourselves to that and work well together.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Well, that makes sense. So you think it's not so much a reflection of your performance, because obviously in my talking to you here, you obviously know what you're talking about. It's more of an inter-party thing, right?
That's
more than anything.
Yeah, that's what I think. I mean I've.
And you're not the only one this has happened to, so.
Correct.
Right. So.
But I mean, for my own experience, I've looked at thousands of applications. I sit on these meetings in New Haven and have for 11 years, twice a month, sometimes more. And I've seen a lot, and I know what needs to go into an application. I know what's missing, so I know what to ask. I can look at a plan and I can figure out, okay, what needs more, what's more here. And it's very important to me that people do what they say they're going to do. We'll get people to come. They want their bond back years after the project, and they haven't done what they said they were going to do.
Right.
And so, but I think that's something that it's not really.
Right.
It doesn't go down well with anyone on the commission, actually. Yeah.
We have a few minutes left, and what I tried to do in the other 2 programs we did with Peter Criscoll and Pat Brown was give the candidate an opportunity to talk directly to the audience and tell them why people should vote for you, what comments you may have, and we have plenty of time. So if you'd like to look right at the camera one and speak to the audience personally, go ahead.
Thank you. So I love planning and zoning. People come and they might actually be bored at these meetings, but I find them fascinating. I love public engagement. I love it when people come out and participate in these meetings. It can be a little bit like TV there. And you can learn all sorts of things about what's coming in town and talk about it and share that with people. And so I hope for the opportunity to continue to do this. And I hope for anyone who's interested in supporting me, they will remember me and fill out my name, Rod Williams, under the box in 12D, ballot 12D. I appreciate everyone's time and your time. Thank you.
Well, it's great meeting you. And again, if on the back of the ballot where it says write-in candidate, you fill in the little bubble and write in the name, and you're good to go with Rod. So a reminder again, thank you for joining us and giving us the opportunity to get to know you. I think it's been a great program.
Thanks.
And I want to remind people, November 4th obviously is election day. Make sure to get out and exercise your right to vote, no matter who you vote for. It's important to get out and vote and make your vote count and help shape North Haven's future. It's a great town, and obviously we have some great candidates running. Remember, vote November 4th. And thank you for joining us here on Candidates Forum on NHTV.